How much should you be making to move to Dubai? And how much does the process of moving to Dubai cost in this video? I'm going to break both of those questions down in more detail than a new other video on YouTube because Asumion, who has lived in Dubai for 1.5 years and someone who now helps other people move there. I can tell you that answering those questions is slightly more complicated than you might think, but by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly how much you need to be making to Moe how much of the process of moving to Dubai cost, because believe me, you need quite a bit more money than you might think to actually go through the process of moving there, because there are a lot of hidden costs and things like that you might know to expect, and you'll also know how much you'll should be making to make sense to move it to Dubai. Because what you need and when it makes sense to move to Dubai are actual litwu, slightly different numbers. And we'll explain why later, but before we get into that, let's talk about just the process of moving the DBY. How much do you actually need to have accessible to you to be able to move there now? There's two possible cases here. Number one is you're moving here for a job like have a job offer at a UAE company is a much simpler case because your company will actually take care of that process of getting your access. They will sponsor your visa. Things like this seth cost for you is actually going to be a lot lower. It might be actually very, very low. But let's talk about the other case. Or let's say you're coming here to set up a company like a did now. There's two ways for you to set up a company in Dubai. One is to do it yourself, where essentially you're talking to the government or the free zones directly, and you're essentially idling with them, directly paying the government fees directly and things like these. This is going to be technically the cheapest option. The cost can be as little as $6 to $7.00 if you're going with a proper free zone. And by the way, you should be going with a proper free zone. Don't try to cheap out. Go with the cheapest option, because you're going toned up in problems later on. But what you need to consider here is that you need to be very and you need to do a lot of research. Now I went through this path and I believe I probably spent like 100 or 200 hours just researching everything to make sure doing everything correctly, and despite of that, I still made mistakes. That ended up costing me like $802 down the line, but having done that myself, I wouldn't actually recommend you do it yourself unless you are willing to spend all of that time doing the research yourself. What I would recommend you do is use a reputable agency that will help you do this for you. Now there's two things to look out for here. Number one, again, you don't want to go with the cheapest option. There's going to be a ton of agencies online that going to advertise like, oh, set up at a buy company for just $8. First of all, that's either going to be a completescum or they're going to use the cheapest possible services everywhere. That is going to lead you to have problems later on. Maybe you can't open a bank account for your company, but you also don't want to overpay. There's going to be a lot of agencies that are going to charge you $25 for the something that really should only cost like maybe 10 or 15,000 or something like these. Now, if you want a recommendation of Samayan, it's going to give you a real good service. Who to be perfect English that's going to apply to you instantly for all your questions, and that absolutely knows what they're doing. That he can recommend the agency that I'm partnered with down below. What they offer is a free 45-minute consultation where they can walk you through the entire process, tell how everything is going to work. You can see if you trust them. If you like them, they will understand your business. They will be able to tell you exactly what is the right option for you, and the fee that they charge is honestly very, very the type of service that they think it's the best value in the market. So if you want to use them, you can book that free consultation down below. But other than the cost of setting up your visa and your company, there's going to be some other money that you want to have available to you when you arrive in the UAE. First of all, it's obviously going to be your airfare. Then you're going to have your deposits for your credit cards. If you want to open UPA credit card as a self-employed person, usually you'll have to put up a deposit in the bank to essentially act as collateral for the credit limit that year. It's going to give you, and the other big expense is going to be your first rent payment. Now the way it works in Theo is that often, however long you book your apartment for, they're going to want you to pay in as few number of payments as possible. I rented my first apartment for 3 months, and I paid the entire 3 months, plus security deposit all up front, so that's another like a big chunk of money you're going to want to have.